Hello, hello there, and welcome, a warm welcome to Weekly Wildlife Wisdom. Can't believe it's a week since we did the last one last week, all about the beautiful pheasants. And I'm delighted to be back for this latest edition, which is all about an aspect of fox wisdom today. And as I sit here, we are feeling the effects of Storm Eowyn, which is blasting its way across the UK. Thankfully, fortunately for us, we're not in the heart of the storm, but we are getting strong storm gusts coming over. So if you hear any noises, the wind howling around the cottage, then you'll know what that is. Hoping should be all right. The signal should be okay. Oh, hello, Susie. It's lovely to have you here as always. She's saying stay safe and warm. That's very kind. I will do my best. We are planning to head out after this, but we will be careful. And I always send out blessings and protection for all of the beings, the trees and the plants and all the animals when we have this challenging weather, which I know is seems to be popping up all over, doesn't it? Challenging weather, which I think we've always had, but I do think it's on the rise, which is troubling, isn't it? So I think our topic today is even more important. And why fox wisdom? Well, Thursday morning I was still scratching my head wondering who was going to come and let me know that it was their wisdom they wanted to share. And I was just kissing my lovely husband David as he was leaving for a day's work. And as we opened the front door, there's a field right outside the front of our house, which is sort of tucked behind our driveway, but it goes up on a hill. And the farmers had been out muck spreading, which is totally natural and has a very interesting aroma, the day before, I think. And lo and behold, it was attracting lots of beings coming to pick out all of the lovely food for them contained within the muck. As they say, where there's muck, there's brass, or in this case, where there's muck, there's lots of food. And as we looked up, this beautiful flame red fox saw us and began to head off away from the area. But then he or she stopped and turned and gave us a good look. And my goodness, it was magical. A huge, great big brush of a tail with a black tip. But this red was like on fire. It was he or she. I think it was probably a he because they were very big, had a very big winter coat on, looked very healthy, which was lovely. It was magical. So I thought, thank you very much. I know it's fox wisdom this week. And so I tuned in a little bit later on that day with this beautiful fox, obviously from a distance through energetic fields, and asked whether there was a particular aspect. And it was very quickly shared with me that it was about the invisible realms, and it instantly made sense to me personally, and I hope it will with you today as well. So what do we mean by the invisible realms? Well, as you probably know if you've watched some of my lives, my heritage and ancestry goes right through the Celtic tradition. So I'm very proud of that, and my beliefs around that always felt right from when I was a very small girl. And my father insisted that I was raised, and my brother was raised, as a Roman Catholic, but it never made sense to me. I was questioning it from my earliest memories. And as it happened, when I was 8, I chose no longer to follow that faith because it just didn't resonate for me. But I totally respect everybody's beliefs and understandings around who the greater power is. Whatever you believe is absolutely fine. But in terms of my beliefs, I know there are plenty that resonate with the Celtic beliefs, and also it's really connected tightly in with there's a lot of overlap with the traditional beliefs of Indigenous peoples around the world, and there's so much overlap. So for this weekly wildlife wisdom, I'll share a little bit about my tradition, but I'm not saying you should be doing this or this is what you should believe. I'd never do that. I just I'm fascinated to share that with people that might be interested. So oh, Susie's saying she's got cold weather. Oh, wow, that is cold, isn't it? Not sure what that is in Fahrenheit, but it's definitely a minus in Fahrenheit. Pretty cold, very cold. So wow. Yes, so yeah, please stay warm and cozy as well, Susie. Whatever your weather is at the moment. I think sometimes in the winter, if you're in the northern hemisphere in the middle of winter, it's an opportunity for us to spend more time inside physically, because if the weather's extreme, we might want to protect ourselves from that. But this invisible realm is also about, when we live our life, we can spend a lot of our time looking at external things. We externalize our thoughts into words and actions. But sometimes we forget, or we neglect, or we let get out of balance what goes on in our inner realms, the thoughts, the intuitions, the feelings, the call to do something, the noticing of something that might be perceived as external to us, that then connects with us on an inner level. And I think the fox was hinting at this with their beautiful thoughts that I picked up on, but it also goes deeper. So I want to start with just looking and considering for yourself about, what's going on in your inner world, the one that only you know about, that's deep within you. It can come from your gut, from your heart, and also within your mind, your brain, your thoughts, and your beliefs. And all of that combined in balance gives us a very, very powerful ability to determine our next steps in life. It's always one step at a time, isn't it? We take a step, there's an outcome. We take another step, there's an outcome. Hopefully, as we're doing all that, we're learning as we're going along, and we're remembering things that are important to us. And I believe really strongly that we each have a purpose here on the planet, and that part of why we came here was to actually fulfill that purpose. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's a specific job or a specific outcome, but it's about being fully ourselves and being who we are, who we were born to be, and sharing that beautifully in the world. And I always add, doing no harm. So I know that's quite difficult when you look at it too deeply, but with an intention of doing good and bringing good and balance into the world. And I really believe that. And I think that the way we can empower ourselves is to really develop and nurture our ability to go within and to be able to tune in. So this winter weather, when it's dark and cold and inclement, staying indoors and using this time when you get as much opportunity as you can to just tune in. And I think that's what the fox was saying, tune in, and the animals, all of the animals and the trees and the plants and the grasses, they're all tuned in, and their way of sensing their world around them, both inner and outer, is magnificent. And we are capable of that, but we do have to overcome some of our own human created conscious thinking patterns that perhaps have led us away from that level of sensitivity and ability to tune in. For me personally, of course, I do better some days than others. Other days I think, oh my goodness, I haven't really remembered any of this wonderful magic, as I call it, that when you tune into the all, you can tap into guidance and help and assistance and protection, and almost like divinely guided inspiration to help you to move step by step like the tortoise, taking your time, doing it respectfully, honouring whoever it is that you honour, being deeply respectful and honouring, and just allowing yourself to receive that wisdom. So often we're in outward mode. We're talking, we're listening to noise, we're creating noise physically in our world. And a lot of people are actually quite frightened of silence. And I've never really felt that. I've always enjoyed silence because it's like, I can breathe. I can hear more easily what's happening within me. And of course, Fox is magically powerful at this. They are capable of being invisible in a split second. Susie's agreeing with me. Me too. Yeah, that silence is so wonderful, especially when we're close to nature, and you can tune in much more easily to the magical energy and wisdom of all the beings around you when you're in that stillness. And so the fox can become invisible. And I was thinking about this in our human world, and I've had a few examples where I've been in situations over the years, and I'm sure you can probably think of at least a few examples, if not more than a few, where you've been in a situation and you suddenly don't feel very safe, and there's something going on around you and you really don't want to be drawn into it. I've had several of them, and again, I feel like it was sort of instinctive, so I'm wondering if it's instinctive in all of us. But I could intuitively draw in my energy to become not physically invisible, because I know that's not, well, I don't think it's possible. It might be, but I certainly haven't discovered how to do that. I haven't got an invisibility cloak or anything like that. But to draw myself in and almost disappear so that I can maneuver my way out of a room or a situation where there's something happening or somebody there that makes me feel very uneasy. And so I think that's what the fox was definitely hinting at, in that they are brilliant at invisibility when it's needed. But then there's other times when visibility is needed, and this really caught my attention because, not accidentally, yesterday, having been frightened is an understatement, of singing in public pretty much my whole life. I used to sing in a choir at school when I was little. And the teachers used to say, Julie, you're going to do a solo. And I didn't have a choice. I was absolutely terrified. And I used to have to do these solos, often in front of all the parents and the teachers. And I think on many levels, it really did traumatize me, because I was having to be highly visible, vulnerable, and didn't feel as if I had a choice. So as soon as a new music teacher asked me if I wanted to sing a solo, I said, no thanks. I think I must have only been about 8 or 9 at that point, and I never did it again, and I was so relieved. But since then, I've never really wanted, ever, not even with David in the house, to sing. So at the end of July last year, I joined a ladies' choir, which I think I've mentioned before. And it's been fascinating, because I've been learning to get comfortable singing with the group. There's about 30 of us. But I still notice myself becoming invisible if I feel like, oh, I'm not sure what to sing, or I'm not sure if it's the right timing, or I don't really want to be heard. So there's this shrinking away. So I decided to take some singing lessons, and I had my first singing lesson one-on-one yesterday, and it was fascinating. I had to really hold my inner self, the young part of me that was terrified, I mean literally terrified, and give her the love and nurturance and protection that I didn't get when I was young, in that instance. And that whole idea of being visible and being safe. And yes, it was fascinating yesterday. It was half an hour lesson. I was very nervous going in, but the teacher was lovely, and She really helped put me at ease, and she was supportive and really helpful. And yet when I was being challenged by her to sing louder, I could feel this part of me viscerally. My stomach was churning and my chest was tightening. I was struggling to breathe, which is not helpful when you're singing. But somehow I managed to keep, just saying, it's okay, you're all right, it's totally safe, and let this sound come out. So I think it's a lot more than just singing. I think it links very much into voice and being heard and choosing when it is safe to do that. And that's my link into how you perhaps ponder this, is when is it good for you to become invisible? And when is it more powerful for you to be invisible? And there are times and places when this can really, really help. And it's a little bit like shape shifting, I guess. If you've come across that term, where you can be very, very present and visible, and then in the next instance you can almost, like, what do they call it, wallflowers, you can sort of like disappear into the background. And I've been able to do that, where I've walked into rooms and thought, I don't want people to notice me, I don't want them to say anything, and I've been able to just, using my body language and my energy, just sort of move in and move through and not be noticed. And I'm sure you probably have examples of that as well. So I guess from the fox, there's something there about how you are utilizing your ability to be visible when it's positive and helpful and perhaps sometimes life-sustaining. So I had an example once where several examples, where I hadn't grounded myself. I wasn't fully in my body when I was driving. And I soon noticed that other vehicles were not noticing me, which, of course, when you're driving, you probably want other vehicles to see you. So I quickly used some of my Reiki training to ground myself, and to think about being here, being physical, connected to the earth. And lo and behold, thankfully, other vehicles started seeing me and acting appropriately. And in other circumstances, you might want to go from being visible very rapidly into becoming invisible. So have a ponder of that one in your life, and where that shows up, and how you can develop that and utilize that ability within yourself. And just practice and experiment with that. You'll develop your own way of doing that. How you do that is going to be personal to you. I tend to consider myself pulling in my energy and making sure that I am as invisible as possible. And when I want to be visible, it's about grounding, relaxing my body, connecting to the earth, breathing deeply from, down in the tummy, and being certain, even if you've got little bits of conflict inside, which is totally natural. So that's a part of it. And then the second deeper part of this invisible realm, which I'm only going to touch on today, and I'll possibly come back and do another one if you are interested, is sort of the way that we connect with that which is beyond the physical realm, however you see that, how we go into deeper connection with our creator, our God, our guides, whatever your beliefs are. Susie's saying, I'm very interested. I thought you might be, Susie. So I promise I will do a second live about inner invisible realms and fox wisdom another time, quite soon. Maybe I'll do it next week and carry on as a part 2. But yeah, so this is about how we do that. In my Celtic learning, and also I've been lucky enough to work with and spend time with other Indigenous peoples who have honoured me by sharing the way that they connect with their ancestors. It's how to do that in a way that is, as I say, firstly, deeply respectful and with care. Oh, the fox! Another fox has just run across the field. Oh my goodness. That is incredible. That's like the second sighting I've had of a fox in probably 8 months. So that's how unusual that is. How wonderful. Different fox, because she had a white tip and smaller, so I'm thinking that's maybe a female. How wonderful. Goosebumps. So yeah, how we do that in honor and respect and with care and understanding, care for the impact that we have and care for ourselves and our own safety and well-being. And there are clear ways of doing that I've learned that I would be very happy to share with you. But as I say, it's me sharing from a place of those interested. It's not me saying this is how you do it and everything else is wrong. I would never do that. So yeah, so I'm going to drop out at that point as I bask in that beautiful sighting. She was just running across the field into oh, she's come back. She's coming back out again. She's just trotting along the hedgerow. Beautiful. I love their big winter coats. They're just absolutely amazing. Oh, and Susie's saying a friend texted me a fox picture earlier this morning. Absolutely. These are the subtle signs, not so subtle, as you become more aware to them, that happen, that give you the nudges. This is what you need to be looking at. So for me, and I suggest in synchronicity that for you, it's how do we express our voice? How do we connect to the voices of the elders? And how do we do that in a way? There she is. She's just, oh, so beautiful. She's standing. Oh, now she's stopped and she's running. I think she wants to come back into the lovely goodies of the farmer's natural bounty of cow poop and all those goodies. Just beautiful. I'm just going to give her a protection as well. She's just me sending my energy, saying, expressing a desire, a loving protection for her, alongside the protection that she already has. But I love to do that whenever I can with animals, because we could all do with a bit of extra love and protection, couldn't we, in today's world? So yes. So I'll come back and do part 2 next week, and we'll dive into that a little bit more. But for now, just have a ponder about your own visibility, invisibility, how that serves you, where certainly for me, it's about hiding because of a fear of whatever those fears are connected into, which sometimes are from this lifetime, but often are ancestrally handed down to us. This fear of being seen and speaking out on so many levels and in different contexts for so many people on the planet right now is so relevant and so important. And then what we'll do next week is come back and delve in a little bit more to how in the Celtic tradition, and lots of overlap with other indigenous traditions, can we connect with our healthy ancestors and the creator, the great spirit as well. So I'm going to send you lots of love. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed this weekly wildlife wisdom. All being well, as always, Friday the 31st, the last, got hair in my face, I seem to get rid of it, the last Friday of January, and then we're into Imbolc, which is a beautiful celebration of the Celts that I'll share a little bit more with you next Friday as well, into the next phase of the year's seasonal cycles, which is wonderful. So I hope you can join me then, and thank you so much, whether you're here live. Thank you, Susie, lots of love, and to those of you tuning in for the recording, take care, see you soon, bye.